I'm with Carolyn Choi, who collaborated on this production with her husband, Anthony Minghella. Carolyn, why did you and Anthony choose Madama Butterfly as your first opera?
I think, first of all, it seems an obvious choice being Italian, Anthony, and me from the Far East. But also coming from a theater background, we were both attracted to the very tightly written libretto, which can almost stand up on its own as a play, even without the music, and the very complexly drawn characters. So when you have a great cast like we do today, it's a wonderful thing to try to achieve. Yeah.
And why did you decide to use a puppet to play for the character of Butterfly's son?
Because usually in a production you have a child 3 or 4 years old, usually incredibly cute, but I think it's a tall order to expect them to be also a brilliant actor. And by using our baby here, it's really like having a brilliant actor on stage, and I think in a way that really liberates the singer, so they don't have to worry about guiding a child, and they can be as spontaneous as can be. And he will react to the situation.
These are the artists who operate this magnificent puppet. Can you introduce us to them?
Of course. This is Mark Petrosina, who operates the head and the left arm. And Kevin Augustine, who operates the feet. He has really strong thighs.
I was about to ask about that. Right?
Yes. And Tom Lee, who is on the back and the right arm.
Oh, that's incredible. Can you show us how you animate this little boy? Oh, see?
Give him to Renee.
I love that. Oh my goodness. And this style of puppetry, does the audience want to be aware of the puppeteers? Because it's an art in itself. It's so beautiful.
It's based on the Bunraku style, which Blind Summit Theatre has been developing, the style of puppetry with the 3 people to 1 puppet. I realized that the first time I went to see their show, after about 30 seconds, I lose sight of the puppeteers, and then your eye just goes to the puppet. And in fact, I don't really like to call him the puppet because he's so alive to me. He's just a little boy.
I know, it feels like a slight in a way. And you're very trained in Asian dance, and you're a choreographer as well. Was it your idea to bring these elements to the production, and how did you develop the approach?
Well, I grew up in Hong Kong with Cantonese opera, and my ama used to take me, to the theater since I was really small. My grandfather was the person who first recorded Cantonese opera in Hong Kong, actually.
Fantastic.
Yeah. So, and I was really attracted by the kind of low-tech, labor-intensive part of formal theater, with an empty stage, very little furniture, props brought in as necessary, very colorful costumes, elaborate wigs and headdresses, and makeup which actually tells you who the characters are, which is what we've tried to borrow for this production. And later on, when I went to Japan, of course, I really fell in love with Kabuki, No, and Bunraku as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
And speaking of colorful costumes, the costumes in this production are so spectacular. Can you tell us about our friend, the designer?
Yes, absolutely. Han Fong, a very good friend of both of ours, who is a wonderful fashion designer, and I've been wearing her clothes for years. So when we came to doing this show, both Anthony and I immediately thought of her as a very organic choice for the concept we were developing at that time. And I think she's done an absolutely amazing job.
That with Michael Levine, I mean, the whole production is one of the great, I love it so much.
Thank you
so very much.
Thanks.
It's been a pleasure talking with you as well.
Thank you, Renee.
Oh.
Okay, should we go? Come on.
Adorable and very quiet.